Hey yo, what is good, ladies and gentlemen? It is your boy Chad bringing y'all another video, man. This video we're gonna be talking about the Taliban taking over Afghanistan. All right. Now, before we even get started in this video, I've had it about up to here with all of Biden and his incompetency, dog. Like, I woke up this morning and I'm just like, what is possibly going on? Like, maybe I'm tripping. You feel me? Maybe I'm tripping. Like, but this man is just so incompetent. On top of that, and I walked into my mom's room this morning and I'm like, Mom, do y'all see what's going on in Afghanistan? And she was like, yeah, my dad and I were talking. We were like, my dad and her were talking last night, and they were like, we hope Chad didn't see that Afghanistan thing because he's going to be on it. Like, he's going to be trying to report it. And I'm like, because y'all know that junk is crazy. Like, as crazy as, it looks, that's how crazy it is, right? So we all know, George Bush and all of them, they sent us over to Afghanistan. We fighting this war against the terrorists, everything like that. And then now you have it where, Trump was, doing the whole, we're not going to try to be in Afghanistan anymore. People want the troops home. So he had to pull out date for May. And now that Biden's in office, May came, it passed. We never actually pulled all the troops out. And then the Taliban took over Afghanistan, right? So my whole thing is like, when Biden's press team or whoever, the press, whoever is, there to ask questions, when they talked to Biden, they said, Biden, U.S. intel told us that the Taliban are getting ready to take over Afghanistan. They also told us that, we need to hurry up and, think about what we're going to do. He was like, they'll never try anything like that. You won't see helicopters take people off the tops of embassies. You won't see American airplanes getting ready to take off the runway and people be there.
Is the Taliban takeover of Afghanistan now inevitable?
No, it is not. Because you have the Afghan troops have 300,000 well equipped as any army in the world, and an air force against something like 75,000 Taliban. It is not inevitable.
Mr. President, thank you very much. Your own intelligence community has assessed that the Afghan government will likely collapse.
That is not true.
Can you please clarify what they have told you about whether that will happen or not?
That is not true. They did not reach that conclusion.
So what is the level of confidence that they have that it will not collapse?
The Afghan government and leadership has to come together. They clearly have the capacity to sustain the government in place.
And do you see any parallels between this withdrawal and what happened in Vietnam, with some people feeling...
None whatsoever. Zero. What you had entire brigades breaking through the gates of our embassy. 6, if I'm not mistaken. The Taliban is not the North Vietnamese army. They're not remotely comparable in terms of capability. There's going to be no circumstance where you see people being lifted off the roof of a embassy of the United States from Afghanistan. It is not at all comparable.
And I told my mom just this morning, because I was just so worked up. I'm just like, I'm beyond sick of this man's incompetency. And I don't see how people voted for this nonsense at all. I'm just like, it's like God, because, I believe in a higher power. So it's like God was sitting there and he was like, not even like, God already knew this was going to happen. But it's like God had the peace in line. He said, let's show Biden's incompetency again, just to wake people up, right? So, we were supposed to move the troops out by May. We didn't actually move them out by May. Trump's plan said, we're going to move the troops out by May, but we're only going to remove all the troops depending on the ground action there in Afghanistan. So if the Taliban tries anything sweet, like they think we green bean, jelly bean, then we're not going to remove all the troops and we're going to put some pressure back on them so they don't try nothing, right? So they didn't move the troops out by May. Biden, didn't follow Trump's plan. Then he gets up there and says that whole, they never do nothing. Yeah, they never have helicopters taking people. And the Taliban literally did exactly what he said they wouldn't. Like, exactly.
will not conduct a hasty rush to the exit. We'll do it responsibly, deliberately, and safely.
Is a Taliban takeover of Afghanistan now inevitable?
No, it is not.
Do you see any parallels between this withdrawal and what happened in Vietnam with some people feeling?
None whatsoever. Zero. There's going to be no circumstance where you see people being lifted off the roof of a embassy of the United States from Afghanistan. It is not at all comfortable. Likelihood there's going to be the Taliban overrunning everything and owning the whole country is highly unlikely.
And a part of me is like, well, maybe this would have happened regardless. And it's like, no, they were literally waiting to see what was going to happen. They were probably sitting up there inside their little hut, inside their, not even huts, just inside their little meetings like, okay, they said they're moving the troops out by May. We know we can't move exactly May unless all the troops are gone. Let's just see what happens. And Biden spoke and words came out of his mouth. And it's just like, it's like literally the higher, like, if like God is the author of everything, right? So it's like literally God said, okay, Biden, he's going to free will, just be incompetent. So we just going to have the Taliban people free will, just hear what he has to say, and they're going to just move in. And they did exactly that. And then after this whole thing, Biden came forth and he blamed Trump for it.
When I came into office, I inherited a deal that President Trump negotiated with the Taliban. Under his agreement, U.S. forces would be out of Afghanistan by May 1, 2021, just a little over 3 months after I took office. U.S. forces had already drawn down during the Trump administration from roughly 15,500 American forces to 2,500 troops in country. And the Taliban was at its strongest militarily since 2001. The choice I had to make as your president was either to follow through on that agreement or be prepared to go back to fighting the Taliban in the middle of the spring fighting season. There would have been no ceasefire after May 1. There was no agreement protecting our forces after May 1. There was no status quo of stability without American casualties after May 1. There was only a cold reality of either following through on the agreement to withdraw our forces or escalating the conflict and sending thousands more American troops back into combat in Afghanistan, lurching into the third decade of conflict. I stand squarely behind my decision. After 20 years, I've learned the hard way that there was never a good time to withdraw U.S. forces. That's why we're still there.
And I'm like, bro, do these folks take any at all responsibility? I haven't seen Biden take responsibility yet. He reversed Trump's border policy. He blamed Trump for that. He blamed inflation on Trump. And I'm like, bruh, this is your economy we're handling because you gave out too many stimulus checks and employment. Like I told everybody, stimulus checks aren't free. You're paying them back in gas prices. You're paying them back in grocery prices. Also, we're buying more things than we're producing. Inflation. That's just basic economics. Like, sick of this. Then on top of that, Biden blamed Trump for, we'll just go ahead and say this Afghan thing he blamed Trump for. He also blamed Trump for a wide variety of other issues. And I'm just like, bro, like, his incompetency is so heavy. And people are like, well, if Trump was there, then nothing would happen. And they're both the same. They're both just two faces to the same coin. No, they're not two faces to the same coin. You guys can do all that cop out for, oh, this is controlled opposition. And oh, this is Trump's doing. No, this is not controlled anything. This is one man who had the stuff in place to keep us from having safe borders, from keeping the Taliban from just running through us, from keeping other foreign leaders like Putin and the CCP president of taking us as a joke. Putin thinks Biden's a joke. You can see that from a mile away. The CCP, they probably control Biden. They probably think Biden's a joke just as much. But one thing that Trump would have done in this circumstance, like I'm probably predicting, Trump said we're going to take the troops out by May, depending on the ground control. The troops would have been out by May. But depending on the ground, what the Taliban were doing or whatever, had they taken any steps, Trump would have been the first one on his phone tweeting, oh, the Taliban, they better not take one more step or we're going to blow them to smithereens. And I guarantee you, had they tried any sweet business, any funny business, Trump would have handled that the way he should have, right? Instead, we got Mr. They'll never do it. There's no way they'll do that. I am highly, highly, highly in touch that they never do such a thing.
None whatsoever. Zero. There's going to be no circumstance where you see people being lifted off the roof.
And they do exactly what he said. It's literally like they were waiting, like, let's watch to see what Biden has to say about our plans. You know, the U.S., they've already informed him that we may be trying to cook up a master plan, but let's see what he has to say. He doesn't even trust his own U.S. intelligence. The media had the intelligence because the U.S. intelligence told them. And it's like, bro, like, my mind is so blown, dog. Like, it's gotten to the point where I'm not even, like, it's like I almost just became angry at this entire thing because I'm just like, people voted on this man thinking he'd do anything. He hasn't done anything for anybody. Anything. People voted on him thinking, oh, we're going to get, our college tuition debts canceled. He hasn't done that. He hasn't done anything. If they told Joe Biden, hey, Joe Biden, can we just have a national ice cream day where you just make sure everybody has ice cream? He'd probably not even deliver ice cream. He'd probably deliver frozen ice. Like, he just won't deliver anything. The incompetency is at such a high level. And anytime, instead of just taking responsibility and just saying, you know what? Instead of blaming Trump for the whole Afghan thing and saying, we followed Trump's, rules and we followed his plot date, it just didn't. He should just say, you know what, guys, I underestimated the Taliban. I thought they weren't going to do this. They ended up doing this. This is my fault as the commander-in-chief or the supreme leader of the United States, and I should have handled the situation better. And you know what? I'd be like, you know what, Biden? Even though I don't mess with you like that, that's respect, big homie, because you took responsibility. He hasn't taken responsibility for anything. Like I said, he blamed Trump for the border. He blamed Trump for inflation. He blamed Trump for the Afghan thing. And he just keeps blaming Trump. I'm like, how long can we blame Trump? He blamed Trump for the mask not being worn. He blamed Trump for people not taking the vaccine. And it's like, even he has said, I wouldn't even trust the vaccine unless we had other scientists besides White House staff and other experts come forth with information and just everything. And people, and like I said, people made me so mad when they tell them this is controlled opposition, it's two faces to the same coin, it's two birds of the same feather, or two feathers to the same bird. Like, no, it's not. One is incompetent, one's not. One's beta, one's alpha. We had an OG in office, and people didn't like that. Yeah, they didn't like anybody who put their foot down, kept people at bay, told them what it was and what it isn't. They wanted someone who just, oh, you guys, you'll never do it. Do what you want. They won't try me like that. And they try them every time. Have y'all ever seen someone who in real life swears they're hard, but every time someone comes up on them, they try them? And they're like, they always talk, yeah, somebody tried me. I'm gonna make sure they don't do that again. And people try them all day, every day, and nothing ever happens. That's Biden. Not even nothing ever happens. Something happens every time. That's Biden. So incompetent, dog. Like, can he just execute anything? Like, prices are skyrocketing. People are fluming through the border, where the Border Patrol is now leaking videos showing people stacked on top of each other, even though they said Trump's so racist, he has them all, he has too many migrant facilities, yada, 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 when Biden's opened up more migrant facilities than Trump's had. The mask and the vaccine, people said, Trump, he's producing a bad vaccine, and people, they don't need to take it, I never trust it, and yet Biden's forcing mandates for the vaccine. Then it's Trump said we'd be out of Afghanistan. He had a plan, but it's all his fault. When one, he didn't follow the plan. Two, the plan was to take everybody out based on the ground control. So the Taliban doing what they're doing, that's ground control. Three, underestimating your enemy. I never saw Trump underestimate the enemy. He's always said, even Trump has always said, even though Russia and China aren't doing all this drastic stuff. He said, we have to watch what they're doing because that's the enemy. That's why he tried to ban TikTok. That's why he had sanctions and stuff against China. That's why he kept Russia at bay. Trump knew what he was doing. And this really just feels like, to me, God is just showing people. God is literally like, I'm going to make these moves happen because people have to see that what they wanted is not what they should have wanted. And I'm just like, bro, if I have to sit here for 3 more years with what's going on, I'm sorry, y'all. Y'all probably will see me disappear because I just can't. I literally cannot. I cannot. I don't know how America can stand 3 more years of this, dog. Like, inflation is not going to go back down because they're not incentivizing people to work, because all they need to say is, y'all, we need workers. We need production. Like, someone needs to come out there and say, guys, if there's no production, but we're spending money, then of course there's going to be inflation, right? No one's working. And instead of Biden encouraging people to work, he's saying, yeah, businesses should pay people more. Businesses have been locked down since last year, and now they're having more mandates and stuff. Small businesses are hurt. They can't pay anybody anymore. And then you're giving out all this free money, all these stimmies, all this unemployment. No one wants to work. Bro, I'm just so sick of this. Like, I just can't. Like, this is honestly not rocket science. Dang.